It's Thursday, 9th of May, and I have the day off, which is a bit of an awkward day to have off a Thursday because it's not like I work tomorrow, pretty much all day tomorrow, so this isn't the start of my weekend, it's just a day that I have off. But what better way of spending a day off than by reading? I'm in the middle of 3 books, and I would like to not be. I would like to maybe be reading 2 books at once. So this today is my chance to decrease the number of books I'm reading and maybe hopefully start a new book. So the books I'm reading and the books that I want to be reading today is first of all Milkman by Anna Burns. I am on page 300. It's the last chapter. It finishes at 348. So 48 pages. It's quite good. It's set in Ireland, at the border between Northern Ireland and Ireland during the 70s. But we're told that it's the 70s, but we're not told that it is Ireland because they don't, like, it's from the point of view, we're in the head of the main character, but she doesn't give proper names to things. She refers to them by sort of titles or by relations. So herself she refers to as middle sister, and then she has 3 younger sisters who living at home, and they are called the Wee sisters, W-E-E. And then you have, mother, but then you have also maybe boyfriend, and you have first brother-in-law, second brother-in-law, longest friend, and the eponymous, is that what it's called? Milkman. Milkman is her stalker. He is a renouncer, and I know very little about sort of the politics of the Irish, Northern Ireland conflict. So I haven't fully grasped what a renouncer is. But they seem to be more militant people. So he has a lot of respect or a lot of fear in the community. And the book centers around the fact that the Milkman starts to stalk the main character, and because he stalks her, rumor starts to flourish about the fact that they have a relationship. So the main character really has no one to turn to about talking about the fact that these rumors aren't true, and she's also given the reputation as sort of a loose, promiscuous woman, which is a bit of foreshadowing for the next book, and that she's in the wrong because Milkman is married, so she's seen as the other woman and seen as, flirting with the renouncers, so she's seen as part of the renouncers or like a groupie to the renouncers. But she's none of that. She isn't involved. She remarks on the fact that you can't really not have an opinion about the political situation, but at the same time she's not involved in the political situation. But she's also remarking on the fact that you have to be involved, and she is involved by association because her sister married someone from the wrong religion and from the wrong side of town, and her brother became a renouncer and died, and her other brother had to run away, I think, because he, for some reason, having to do with the political situation. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very stream of consciousness, which going in I knew it was gonna be, so I was fearful that it would be difficult to read, but I have had a lot of fun. I think stream of consciousness might actually be a writing style that suits me, because that's very much the way I feel I think, and it makes perfect sense to me that you would start off with like a conversation, and then you're giving a lot of backstory, and then you come back around and the conversation continues, or she's reminded of something and then she has this whole like 10 pages of explaining something or referring to something that has happened previously. And it is very interesting, but it's also very jarring, I feel, the fact that I read, and then there came some things. I'm very bad at not spoiling things, but there are some things that happened from sort of the midpoint of the book onwards that I did not anticipate. And because we're very much in her head and she's just explaining it, what's happening, I thought she was just sort of imagining it, until I realized, like, oh no, she's actually describing what's happening. And she's not just describing the possibility of something happening or the feeling of something happening. It's actually happening. I only have 48 pages left, and I'm very excited to finish it, to see how it ends. I feel like it's gone by quite quickly because the stream of consciousness makes it very easy to read, I feel. Because you're just following along with the story. It's not, you don't have to constantly pay attention to new dialogue or new things happening. It's just sort of logically one thing following each other, because it's a bit, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just saying that it will probably go quite quickly. The second book that I would like to finish today is The Girl and the Shame. It's in Swedish. I'm reading this for work. I don't think I actually need to have it finished before Friday, but I would like to finish it before Friday so that I can be able to discuss it and be able to use it at work. So yeah, I'm pretty much halfway through. I'm on page 119 and it's 240 something pages. 243. So I'm about halfway through. It's non-fiction. The author has previously written a book called The Girl and the Guilt, where she, I think, interviewed victims of rape, and also she sat in on a lot of trials when people are accused of rape, their trial. And she found that a lot of the time the guilt is placed on the girl or the woman, in that the girl is expected to not be dressing so sluttily or flirting, or oh, she led him on, and also that she shouldn't have been drinking that much, or she shouldn't have done this, or she shouldn't have done that. And you know, it's all, even though the girl didn't rape anyone, she's still the one considered being guilty of having been raped. I don't know when that book came out, but The Girl and the Shame is a sort of follow-up on that, where they talk about how rumors, going back to Milkman, the rumors of girls having done things or things having happened to girls are spread and are used to make the girl seem less reliable in court, or like that you can't trust her or trust her testimony. And it is used to sort of say that, oh, but she slept around, so it's her fault that she got raped. And even she brought up a few cases where there were, like, their assault was filmed, so people could see what was happening. They could see that the girl was, you know, close to blacked out because she was so drunk, but still the shame is put on her. Still she is believed to have led the guy on, or they bring up, oh, what's it called, that very famous rape case in America, the Steubenville Case. How the girls were put to shame, and it was said that they ruined the boy's life. And that happens also in Sweden, and how being called a whore or a slut is one of the worst things that you can do to a woman. And also that does not happen to men. There's a lot of other examples of like a journalist was faced when they get hate online. It's a lot of like, oh, I'm gonna rape you, I'm gonna come to your house, I'm gonna rape and I'm gonna murder you. And then a female or a male journalist, when he gets hate online, it's, oh, I'm gonna come to your house and I'm gonna rape your daughter, I'm gonna rape your wife, I'm gonna kill you, but I'm gonna rape your wife. And how that is just, you know, the wife and the daughter having nothing to do with it, but sexual violence against women is used as sort of the ultimate way of winning or beating someone down. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna finish this today. I hope I will. It's quite rough reading a lot of it, so I think I'll read a bit and then I'll go do something else and then I'll read a bit more. It's put into different sections, and then within the sections there are short chapters, so it's quite easy. You don't have to, you know, sit for 50 pages reading. You can read for, I don't know, 7 at a time. So yeah, we'll see if I finish it. Hopefully I'll finish it before tomorrow, but if I don't, it's no big deal. And then finally, if I finish both of those books, then I have started, I am not very far into it, I'm 62 pages into it, Stormcaster by Cinda Williams-Tarma. This is the 3rd book in the Shattered Realms novels or series, and this series is a follow-up or built on the Seven Realms series. So I can't really talk about what's happening in this book, and I can't talk about what happens in the series as a whole. I can't even tell you the premise because that would be a spoiler for the Seven Realms series. If I finish the 2 first books, I'll read this one. And also, if The Girl in the Shame turns out to be too rough, I might turn to this one. Because one of the things about YA fantasy that's actually good is that it's quick and it's easy, and a lot of time it's quite fun. Oh my god, it's a bird. Well, you can't see it, and I don't want to mess with this. Oh my god, it flew away. Oh, bird. Oh my god, it came back. No, it went away. So yeah, I'll check in with you in hopefully not that long. So it's been like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I have read some, so I thought I'd update you, otherwise this vlog would be kind of boring. I read one section of The Girl in the Shame, and it continued on pretty much the same as it has been, with more stories from people who have had to live with the shame, and some more information from sort of how this is being used in pop culture, and also a historic example from how Marie Curie, I don't know how you pronounce her name in English, how she was shamed because she was in a relationship with a man who was separated but who was still married to his wife, and the Swedish Academy of Science wanted to withdraw the Nobel Prize for chemistry. They wanted to withdraw that, and they said that had they known about her before they awarded her this, they perhaps wouldn't have given it to her. And she sort of just answered back immediately, like, what does my personal life have to do with my professional accomplishments? Marie Curie was very much defamed in the press in France, and she was called names, and I think the book lifts an important point, which was that the backlash against her was both sexist in terms of her being called like, oh, she's, you know, a seductress, and she did, like, she's having it up, she's the mistress of a married man, and how could she? But also that it was anti-Semitic because they tried to prove that she was Jewish and tried to prove that that's what was making her do these acts, which I think is something not to be forgotten, how sexism and discrimination based upon ethnicity is often used in tandem to prove that you are right. The author has previously mentioned, or, you know, used as an example, the fact that black women are often expected to be more promiscuous or more sort of passionate than white women, and how this is used as a sort of, oh, it's what to be expected when you try to call someone a slut or a whore. She also dedicated one little chapter of, you know, about 10 pages or something to the etymology of different words. So she went into, for example, where words meaning dirt or bad or things that are considered bad or terrible are used for women, and especially when you want to defame women or when you want to put a woman down. So yeah, those kinds of stories, and it's very interesting, and I think that the author does a very good job of putting these stories and sort of painting a picture of this very much being a problem or an issue that we have as an entire society, and not something that's just, you know, oh, it's just in the classroom of a high school or of a secondary school. Like, it's these problems, these spreading of rumors and considering women to be bad or dirty or naughty because they have sex, isn't just limited to, oh, that's just what teenagers are like. This is something that we as a culture just feed upon and feed our children and also our adults. So yeah, it's very, very good. I'm learning a lot. I'm feeling though like maybe I should have taken some notes, because I don't think I will be able to, because she's giving me so much that I don't know how well I will be able to remember this when it's time to discuss it and time to use it at work. I also read a little bit. I read like 12 pages of Milkman, because it was just like a lot, and also I'm really liking it, so I don't want to like speed through it, because then I'm left sort of only reading The Girl in the Shame. So I read a little bit of this, and then I read some A Girl of the Shame, and now I think I'm going to go back. I want to mention, I took a little break after having read one section of The Girl in the Shame. I went and I watched Insane Reader's review of the movie after, you know, the Harry Styles fanfic Wattpad novel turned movie, and it was so good. I'm gonna link it. He was so funny, and like, I haven't seen the movie, I haven't read the book, but oof, he brought a little extra something to that review. I'll check in with you again in a little while. Maybe I should have some lunch. Maybe that would be a good idea. Anyway, I'll see you in a couple seconds. It's later in the evening. I've had dinner. I've also finished 2 books. I finished both Milkman and The Girl in the Shame. I finished this one first, and then I just picked up Milkman and finished that one too. I feel like all I could have said about this has already been said. It just added on more perspectives, widened the discussion, brought in more examples. Something which I was already spoiled for because I watched an interview with the author before I read the book, is that each section, there's 5 sections. Each section starts off with one chapter from the perspective of she. And it sort of chronicles the first time it happens. You get her saying, that her locker has been kicked in at school. And then there are rumors about her and she feels terrible. And then the other sections go through, they mention how she once is at a party where she doesn't know anyone, and then she sees a couple of bad boys that who aren't usually allowed into these parties, but she invites them in because she knows them. And then she ends up making out with one of them. And then in school afterwards, people are saying like, oh, we saw them having sex like right there on the floor on top of this pile of shoes. You know, they're having sex for everybody to see. And then so many rumors are spread about her. And then they also tell about how she liked to make out with boys, and that she was raised thinking that her and her brother, you know, having grown up in Sweden, the most egalitarian society on earth, that they have similar, or that they are equal. So she goes out and she makes out with a bunch of boys, and then her brother goes out and he makes out with a bunch of girls, and because they have grown up being raised with this thought of them being equal, that they will be treated equally for this, but she quickly realizes that they will not. She will be called names, and while he will just be considered normal. So yeah, at the end of the book, the author says that that girl is her. And I already knew this because she talked about it in her interview. And she does write that she is sort of apprehensive to include her own narrative in a journalistic work that this is. And I understand her and I feel her, and she also says that it's because when women are being autobiographical, they are considered whiny or not to be taken as seriously. So yeah, it was really good. I gave it a 4-star. But like I said, I read it for work, so I didn't read it on my own. Didn't read it on my own volition, and I don't think I would have read it if I didn't have to, because it felt so hard-hitting and it wasn't really uplifting, or I didn't get all that out of it because it was very much just exactly what I already knew. Milkman. I read the last 30 pages or something, and it had quite an uplifting ending, which I was quite relieved about because it had taken a very dark turn. And I was reminded when I was putting it on Goodreads about the opening line, which is, the day somebody put a gun to my breast and called me a cat and threatened to shoot me was the same day the milkman died. There is a lot of things happening in this book. I don't want to spoil it, but at the same time I want to discuss it. I just want to say that there were a lot of things I felt that went over my head. I read some Goodreads review, and they mentioned how, because there's an area called the 10-minute area, and they said that was like, oh, it was a blatant analogy for being that sort of no man's land between two sides, and that just, I had no idea. I did not connect to that. I didn't know why she was calling it the 10-minute area, but when that came up again, I was like, oh, now I understand why that would be significant. It gave me, I was talking about this with a friend of mine, and I was saying that I read books for two reasons. One is for entertainment, and one is to learn something, to broaden my view. I think I talked about this in my new to Booktube tag video that I did, but I felt this was very much for me to broaden my views, for me to learn something, but it was also entertaining, and I was gripped, and I really liked it. I would highly recommend it. I also gave it a 4 because it was so good. So yeah, I finished 2 books, which like today is a huge success, and it's only, I think it is 7:30 or something, so I have a few more hours before I need to go to bed. So I could read Stormcaster, but I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna pick up Circe by Madeline Miller, because I've been meaning to read this, and I know I had it on hold at the library for like a month because so many people want to read it right now, and I got it out from the library I think last week or earlier this week, so I should get a move on. I have it out for a month, and I would like to be able to read it and maybe do a wrap up with it before I return it. Or actually, I should return it as soon as I read it because there's so many people online. So yeah, I think I'm gonna hop into this one and also read some tea. Not read some tea, drink some tea. See you in another couple seconds. It's later in the evening. It's about 11 o'clock. I need to get up in the morning. So this will be the end. I did read Cersei by Madeline Miller. I got 80 pages into it. It's about a nymph who's born from a titan, or rather she's not a nymph, but she starts off saying that when she was born there wasn't a word for what she was. So she's born of a nymph and a titan, the titan Helios, the sun titan, and she does something to upset the gods, and therefore she is banished to an island. She was banished 1 chapter ago. So we get a bit of backstory about, you know, how she grew up and what exactly she did to get banished and what her motivations were for doing that. What amazed me, I know that this has been very highly praised, and like I mentioned, it's very highly requested at the library. So I know a lot of people want to read it. The reason why I wanted to read it is because it won the Goodreads Choice Awards for, was it fantasy? For some kind of category. And then also it ended up both on the long list for Women's Prize for Fiction, but also on the short list. And I saw a video where people were discussing it and they thought that it was very likely that it might win. And when I started reading it, I felt a little silly because I hadn't realized how sort of complex the story would be, or how in depth it goes, and how many different kinds of conflicts there are. And I like it. I like it a lot. And it goes by quite quickly also because it's both very intriguing and also, you know, there's no real hesitation of the plot. It just moves forward quite quickly. I think it might slow itself down a little bit now, but at the same time it might not, because a lot of these stories that we have from mythology are quite action-packed. Not to say that the book goes by, you know, that it's non-stop action, but rather that the events follow each other quite closely, because the characters not being mortal means that they don't, you know, keep track of time. Like, time doesn't matter to them as it would to a human. I don't have a lot to say about it just yet. I am still settling. She's now, you know, started her banishment. As I understand it, I think this chapter that I'm on now, it will be one of the first times that she has a visitor to this island, because that is, as far as I've understood it, sort of the plot of the novel. She lives alone on this island, and then sometimes there's people who visit her, and then she, you know, reacts to that, or things happen in connection to that. So yeah, I'm quite liking it. I feel like today has been the success that I wanted it to be, in terms of me having read a lot, and also that I finished the 2 books that I wanted to finish today, and even started a new one, so that I now am currently only reading 2 books. You have Cersei and you have Stormcaster, and I'm quite happy with that. I like having only 2 books. So yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. I might read a little more, I might not. I might watch on Booktube, I might not. Might fall asleep immediately. Who knows? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.